Prince William just gave Britain a masterclass in how to honor someone without ever actually saying the words, "Look at me honoring someone." And honestly, the whole thing has people across the country absolutely wrecked in a way that a polished speech from a balcony never could have achieved. We are talking about what he quietly did on what would have been Princess Diana's 65th birthday, and the reason it is hitting so hard isn't because of some grand ceremony or carefully worded palace statement. It is because he effectively sidestepped the entire royal machine and said through his actions that his mother's memory belongs to her family now, not to an institution, and that right there's where the emotional weight of this entire thing lives. July 1st rolls around, and Princess Diana would have been turning 65. That is a milestone birthday, the kind of age where you're supposed to be surrounded by your grandkids, maybe taking a step back from public life, enjoying the fruits of a life lived in service. And that is the first thing that made this particular anniversary hit differently than the others. It wasn't just another year passing. It was a stark reminder of an entire future that was stolen from her. She was 36 when she died. She never got to see Prince William become the father and the future king he is today. She never got to meet Prince George, Princess Charlotte, or Prince Louis. She never saw Prince Harry become a husband and a father. All of those normal, beautiful, chaotic family moments that fill a person's later years. She was denied every single one of them. And I think that collective realization is what primed everyone to be so emotionally raw going into this day. People were already imagining her at 65, laughing with her grandchildren. And that image hurts because it is so normal and so impossible at the same time. Now, a lot of people expected Buckingham Palace to mark the occasion with something official, a statement maybe, a coordinated social media post, perhaps a public tribute acknowledging her enduring legacy. After all, she remains one of the most famous and beloved figures in modern royal history. You can't just let a 65th birthday pass in silence. But what William did instead was so much more pointed and personal. He didn't wait for the palace to decide how his mother should be remembered. He didn't participate in some carefully measured tribute designed to honor her impact without reopening old wounds. Instead, he essentially took ownership of her legacy in real time, and he did it by going straight back to the lessons she taught him when he was a child. Just a few days before July 1st, William traveled up to Aberdeen, Scotland to support his homelessness initiative called Homewards, which operates through the Royal Foundation. Now on the surface, a royal doing charity work around a significant date isn't exactly groundbreaking. But what matters here is the nature of the work and the deliberate choice to tie it so directly to his mother's memory. This wasn't symbolic ribbon cutting or a photo opportunity. He rolled up his sleeves and joined volunteers in preparing newly completed homes for families who were about to start a fresh chapter. He helped carry chairs. He unpacked household appliances. He organized essential supplies and put together welcome packages filled with the kind of everyday items that make a new house actually feel like a home. There were no grand announcements, no effort to draw cameras to himself. He was just doing the work. And the reason that choice landed so heavily is that William has been very open over the years about how his mother introduced both him and Prince Harry to homelessness charities when they were still young boys. He has talked about it publicly. He remembers being taken to a shelter, and he remembers having explained to him why the people he met there mattered and why no society can be healthy if it ignores people who are struggling. Diana wanted her sons to understand that the real world existed far beyond palace gates. She wanted them to meet people from different backgrounds, hear their stories, and never look away from people facing difficult times. So for William to spend the days around her 65th birthday doing exactly that kind of work, quietly and without fanfare, it effectively closed a loop that Diana started decades ago. He was saying without words that her mission is still running, that her compassion didn't die with her. It is still fully operational. But the public charitable work was only one layer of what he did. The other layer, the one that really seems to have pushed people over the edge emotionally, was happening completely behind closed doors. Reports indicate that William devoted significant time during this period to making sure his 3 children continued to learn about the grandmother they never got to meet. And this is where the tribute becomes less about a single day and more about a sustained, deliberate effort to keep Diana's presence alive in the only place it really matters anymore, her family. William has apparently made a conscious decision that his children should know Diana as far more than a famous royal whose face appears in documentaries and history books. He doesn't want their understanding of their grandmother to be shaped by newspapers or television retrospectives. He wants them to know the real woman behind the title. The mother who filled his childhood with laughter and warmth and kindness, and those unforgettable lessons about caring for other people. So he shares his own treasured memories with them. He shows them family photographs. He recalls simple everyday moments. He tells them stories that reveal her true character. And those conversations have become even more meaningful now that George, Charlotte, and Louis are getting older and naturally becoming more curious about the grandmother whose name is still spoken with such affection around the world. Like any kids, they're starting to ask questions. What was she like? What made her so special? Why do so many people still love her nearly 3 decades after she died? And William has embraced those questions completely. He sees them as an opportunity to pass down not just memories, but the actual values Diana lived by. And this is where Princess Charlotte specifically enters the story, and honestly this detail is the one that seems to have affected people the most. Charlotte, the granddaughter Diana never got to meet, carries her name with quiet pride that has become increasingly visible as she has grown older. Those close to the family say Charlotte has become genuinely curious about the remarkable woman whose name she shares. She is asking thoughtful questions. She wants to know what Diana was like, what made her special, why people around the world still remember her with such affection. And William has handled those conversations with enormous care. Instead of allowing Charlotte to learn about Diana only through public tributes or television programs, he has told her the stories that only his son could share. He has spoken about Diana's warmth, her sense of humor, her kindness toward others, the unconditional love she showed her children. Through these simple family moments, William is introducing Charlotte not to a royal icon, but to the grandmother she never had the opportunity to know. What makes this so significant is how much it reveals about William's own relationship with grief. As a young boy, his heartbreak unfolded before millions of people. He had to walk behind his mother's coffin at 15 years old in one of the most unforgettable and brutal images in modern royal history. That trauma became part of public history. But today, as a father, he is determined to give Charlotte something very different. He is not asking his daughter to inherit sorrow. He is not letting cameras or public expectations shape her understanding of Diana. He is letting that relationship grow naturally within the privacy of family life. He is passing on Diana's compassion, her generosity, her courage, and her love for others. And in many ways, Charlotte is becoming one of the brightest reminders that although Diana's life ended far too soon, the values she lived by continue to flourish through the generations that follow her. All of this takes on even more weight when you remember the promise William made to his mother when he was just a boy. The story goes back to 1996. After Diana's divorce from Charles was finalized, she lost the title of Her Royal Highness. And while she remained Diana, Princess of Wales, losing that style apparently devastated her. It was more than a change in protocol. It was a painful official confirmation that her place within the royal family had changed forever. Those close to her said she felt like an important part of her identity had been stripped away. William was only 14 years old at the time, but he could clearly see how much his mother was hurting. And according to Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, the young prince made a promise that has become one of the most touching moments in their shared history. He reportedly told her, "Don't worry, Mommy. I will give it back to you one day when I am king." Those weren't the words of a future monarch calculating royal titles. They came from a devoted son who simply wanted to make his mother smile again. Burrell said those simple words brought Diana to tears. But of course, fate had other plans. Less than a year later, Diana was dead after the Paris car crash. She was 36. William never got the chance to keep the promise he made as a heartbroken teenager. And for many years, that moment sat there as one of the saddest what-ifs in the entire story of their relationship. You can't restore a title to someone who isn't alive to receive it. But what became so clear on what would have been her 65th birthday is that William has effectively fulfilled that promise in a completely different, far more meaningful way. He could never give her back the title, but he has spent his adult life protecting something infinitely more valuable, her memory, her compassion, the extraordinary legacy she left behind. Through his actions, his charitable work, and the values he continues to pass on to his own children, William has ensured that no royal decision, no title, and no institution could ever diminish who Diana truly was or what she continues to mean to millions of people around the world. That promise he made as a boy, he kept it, just not in the way anyone expected. And here's the thing about Diana's legacy that makes William's approach so incredibly fitting for this milestone anniversary. She was never content with simply carrying out conventional royal duties from a safe distance or appearing as a detached symbol of privilege. She fundamentally changed the way people viewed the British royal family by showing that kindness, deep empathy, and genuine human connection were just as important, if not more important, than centuries-old tradition and rigid ceremony. During a dark time when many people were terrified to even touch someone living with HIV and AIDS due to fear and misinformation, Diana broke major global barriers by warmly shaking a patient hand, without wearing gloves, and offering comfort without a single moment of hesitation. She walked through active landmine fields in Angola to bring the world's urgent attention to innocent people whose lives had been completely destroyed by war, risking her own safety to make a point that the powerful could not ignore. She regularly visited crowded hospitals, children's cancer charities, and dark homeless shelters late at night because she truly believed everyone deserved to be treated with absolute dignity regardless of their circumstances or social standing. She wanted people who felt forgotten by society to feel seen, valued, and genuinely loved by someone who cared, and that was her core operating system as a human being. But perhaps her greatest achievement of all, the one that is paying massive dividends right now in 2026 as we look at the state of the monarchy, was the precise way she chose to raise her two sons. She completely refused to let William and Harry grow up isolated behind high palace walls, shielded from the difficult realities of ordinary life. She intentionally took them to homeless shelters and small grassroots charities while they were still young boys, introducing them to a world they would otherwise never experience. She encouraged them to meet people whose lives were very different from their own privilege, wanting them to understand that titles, wealth, and immense status should never prevent them from showing deep compassion to others in need. William has reflected on those profound childhood experiences multiple times throughout his public life, saying they completely changed how he understood the world around him and shaped the kind of man he wanted to become. The lessons Diana taught about everyday kindness, empathy, and actively helping others never faded from his mind. They became a lasting guide that shaped his adult character and continues to heavily influence the meaningful causes and people he chooses to support today. That is exactly why his extensive work to the Homewards Initiative means so much more than just another standard royal project designed for good public relations. His deep commitment to tackling homelessness on a systemic level is not simply a public responsibility he inherited from the crown. It is a direct, unbroken continuation of a mission his mother began many years ago when she held his hand in those shelters. Every single family that receives a safe place to live through this program, every person given a fresh start in life, and every community transformed reflects the exact values Diana worked so incredibly hard to instill in him. And in honoring those values every single day through his actions, William is doing something far beyond simply remembering his mother on her birthday. He is ensuring that her act of compassion continues changing lives long after she is gone. That is not just empty symbolism. That is operational legacy in its purest and most powerful form. For nearly 30 years, Princess Diana's memory has occupied this incredibly unique and slightly complicated place within the wider royal family structure. She remains one of the most admired and beloved royals in global history, but remembering her within the institution has always required a careful, tense balance. The monarchy has had to honor her enormous, undeniable impact on the world, while also protecting an institution that experienced some of its most difficult, turbulent, and fragile moments during her lifetime and the fallout of her tragic passing. As a direct result of this tension, many public tributes organized by the palace over the years have been respectful but highly measured, carefully avoiding reopening old wounds or reigniting old controversies that could destabilize the current status quo. But what happened on what would have been her 65th birthday suggested that something fundamental has permanently shifted in the dynamics of the family. William did not wait for Buckingham Palace to decide how his mother should be officially remembered on this major milestone. He did not rely on official speeches, grand royal ceremonies, or carefully written statements issued by press secretaries to tell her story to the public. He quietly and confidently took on that massive responsibility himself, and he did it in a way that felt deeply personal, completely sincere, and entirely driven by love. Over the years, William has consistently demonstrated that preserving Diana's legacy is not something he believes should happen only on major anniversaries or through highly publicized media events. He has carried her core values into his daily life through his concrete work to tackle homelessness, the genuine compassion he shows to vulnerable people he meets, and the exact way he and Catherine are raising George, Charlotte, and Louis today. He has continued the vital lessons Diana taught him as a child, ensuring they are woven into the fabric of the next generation's upbringing. Every single choice he makes as a modern prince reflects his absolute determination to make sure his mother is remembered for who she truly was as a person, not simply for the immense global tragedy that ended her life far too soon. And the most remarkable part of this entire tribute is that he has accomplished all of this without ever seeking massive media attention or validation for himself. There have been no dramatic announcements, no tearful public speeches designed for headlines, and no attempts to rewrite historical facts. His actions have quietly but powerfully spoken much louder than words ever could, proving that true honor is found in service. Many people now firmly believe that Diana's legacy has officially entered a completely new, mature chapter. It is no longer shaped primarily by palace traditions, official statements, or ongoing public debate about the past. Instead, it lives most powerfully and beautifully to the family she loved above everything else in the world, the children and grandchildren who carry her blood. By choosing to preserve her memory through quiet compassion, direct service, and the careful preparation of the next generation, William has become the ultimate quiet guardian of his mother's remarkable legacy. He is ensuring that future generations will know not only the iconic Princess of Wales who captured the world's imagination, but also the extraordinary, warm-hearted woman whose simple kindness continues to inspire the world today. And that is really what this entire 65th birthday moment crystallized for millions of onlookers worldwide. William's private and professional tribute was never meant to reopen old structural wounds or ask the nation to painfully relive the heavy, suffocating sadness of losing his mother all those decades ago. Instead, it became a powerful, living reminder that genuine love does not simply disappear from the earth when someone is tragically gone. When that love is intentionally passed from one generation to the next through real values, it continues to grow dynamically, keeping an inspiring light over lives long after the person who first gave it is no longer here to see it. Nearly 3 decades ago, the entire world watched in absolute silence as a heartbroken 15-year-old William bravely walked behind his mother's coffin to the crowded streets of London. It was a visual burden no young child should ever have to carry under the glare of global cameras. Today, that exact same boy has successfully become a devoted, protective father who is completely determined to ensure that his own 3 children grow up knowing exactly who their grandmother was behind the headlines. Not simply as Princess Diana, the famous, untouchable royal icon admired by strangers around the globe, but as a kind, laughing, intensely loving, and compassionate woman who directly shaped the character of the man he would eventually become. Over the years, William has quietly but fully fulfilled the monumental promise he made to his mother in ways no traditional royal courtier could have ever imagined or planned. While he can never physically or legally restore the royal title of Her Royal Highness that she lost before her untimely death, he has spent every year of his adult life protecting something infinitely more important to her heart. He has kept her true values alive and functioning through his hands-on work helping vulnerable people, his unbreakable commitment to tackling the root causes of homelessness, and the intimate lessons he shares with George, Charlotte, and Louis behind closed palace doors. William continues to carry forward the torch of raw compassion Diana showed throughout her entire life. Every single story he shares with his children during family time, every small act of everyday kindness inspired by her historical example, and every single life change to the charitable causes he supports adds another beautiful chapter to Diana's remarkable legacy. Although Diana never had the chance to celebrate her 65th birthday or see her family grow, her unique spirit continues to live on in ways that are genuinely extraordinary and undeniable. It lives in William's deep determination to serve others with humility. It lives in Princess Charlotte's growing curiosity and quiet pride about the grandmother whose name she proudly carries. And it lives in the human-centric values that continue to guide the next generation of the royal family. In the absolute end, Diana's greatest, most permanent memorial was never destined to be a cold stone statue or a formal palace tribute or an official state ceremony. Her greatest legacy is the love, kindness, and raw humanity she planted deep within her family, qualities that continue to shine brightly through William and his children, ensuring that the people's princess will never truly be forgotten. And honestly, that is the only kind of tribute that outlasts any speech.